All right. Welcome to the business of love. I am fired up today. I am your host, and that's my co-host.
Yes,
My
your
co-host in
in
life and in business.
Yes.
It's Jennifer Lier.
Hi there.
Woo! You're on fire today. You look great.
Thank you so much. So do
Yeah,
you.
you look great.
Thank you. Feel
So today, obviously, those of you who haven't been to our podcast before, this is called the business of love. This is
Yep.
about how to build your love and your companionship and your relationship, and how love parallels business. Because when I talk to men, I talk to a lot of men who are entrepreneurs, business owners, and they know how to build businesses, and they put in their time and they do the research and they make the changes. And for some reason, I'm only generalizing here, but we as species, men, oftentimes have a hard time with love and relationships. And
Yeah.
so, I've been studying business and love for the last 25 years. And so there are parallels in business that we're sharing here today. So today, I want to talk about in business, to be the best you can be, whether you're a sales manager, a sales leader, a CEO, you've got to be open to growing.
Yes, definitely.
You've got to learn, you got to grow, you got to be open-minded, to have a growth mindset versus
Yeah.
a fixed mindset, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I feel like we need to do the same thing in our life, with
in our relationships.
relationships. And I mean, obviously my background's a little different,
Yeah.
it's not,
It's not fair, and it's not typical.
Yeah. So, I
it's like living with a psychologist.
yeah. At the same time, there's still work to be done, right? So, and here's the myth here is like, people could take a look at us and say, well, yeah, you've got a great relationship. You're a motivational speaker and she's a business owner and she's amazing and all that stuff. And that doesn't change the fact that you still have to have human interaction and that there's challenges and there's issues. And, we had kids from my previous marriage, and there's so many factors that go into relationships that you have to grow as a human being to have a successful relationship.
Yes, yeah.
True?
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true.
So, I just think when I talk to business people, I talk about, you've got to invest in yourself. You got to go to seminars. You got to read books. You got to put in, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And so I think that people fall short on this in regards to their relationships.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is something, until something goes wrong, that's when they pick up a book about love or how to love a woman or how to love a man or how to love themselves or
Right.
something. It's interesting because, we go, oh, we don't know how to do business. We're going to go to school or go to college and, or go learn this trade or that trade. But then when it comes to relationships, we think that it's easy. And what's harder than being in a relationship with another human being with a different upbringing and a different filter and a different everything and different communication style. And, it's so funny. I wish that we had communication classes or relationship classes in schools because, my goodness, why isn't that taught?
Right.
Why isn't that taught at a young age? And how to really be a whole person and how to communicate and how to talk about your challenges and your fears. And I had a hard time communicating. I had such a hard time communicating until I was way into my 30s. And I still had a hard time communicating with the man that I fell in love with, and married. And that's you, by the way. And because I've only been married
I
once.
was going through the files.
Yeah.
there.
I've only been married once. And, but to, I'm just learning, I'm 48 years old, and I'm just getting really, really good at communication. And it took the last few years to really do that. And I'm 48, for goodness sakes. And that sucks.
You're 48?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah. Do you like how I
I
look?
thought you were more like 38.
No. See,
Wow,
that's why I'm in love
look
with you.
good.
Yeah, thank you.
You look good.
See, guys, even if you're not telling the truth and really don't believe it, even if you say that, it
I am
scores
telling the
points.
truth.
Thank you.
I am telling the
But you know
truth.
what I'm saying? It's like,
Yes.
and I did work on it, but it just took a while to figure it out. And,
Right.
But yeah, why do people take so long to get introspection or help with relationships? And why do they think it's taboo? Because they think there's something wrong with them. That's the other thing.
That is a problem.
It is a problem.
That's a big problem in my family is that when you go out and look for help, whether it's relationships or your own self,
Yeah.
then you're damaged.
Yes.
Or, oh, what are you seeing a psychologist for? You're seeing a therapist? You're seeing a marriage counselor?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
That's
I've been
crazy.
thinking, I've been seeing a counselor since I was 20 years old, Me and
Howard Stern?
Howard Stern. I saw nothing wrong with that. In fact, sometimes I had 2 or 3, depending on what I was going through at the time.
Yeah, well,
I'd
you're
have
my
one.
counselor now.
What?
You're my full-time
I know.
counselor.
I know. But I mean, dependent. I have people, different people who are experts in different things.
Yep.
And so, right, and quite honestly, I mean, now I still see a marriage and family therapist because it helps me. It helps me.
Yes.
It helps me navigate waters that are unfamiliar to me. And so
Yes.
why not go to an expert to help you?
Yeah, and I think you're brilliant on that. I really
Thanks.
do. My
Thank you.
family, I don't know to call it a traditional family, but my background is, Swedish, Norwegian, German, and very proud and stubborn people. The Germans are very stubborn.
Are they?
They're very stubborn. You know that.
I do.
Your mother's got German.
I'm half German, yeah.
And so I'm German, Swedish, Norwegian, and some other things, I'm sure.
And I have a stubborn streak, so.
Yes. Yeah. So we just, it's taboo.
Yeah.
It's taboo. We take care of ourselves, and we're not weak people.
Yeah.
And so you're right. That is a not stereotype, but that's a taboo that goes with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think you've been great for that. I mean, when I was seeing you, when we first started dating, you were seeing a therapist or a psychologist, and
Absolutely.
you were the first woman that openly said that to me
Really?
first.
Really?
Yeah, and because I'm not judgmental, I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
But I was also older. I mean, if you would have said that to me when I was 30, I probably would have been like,
Hey, what's
"You're
wrong with
doing
you?
what?"
Yeah. What's wrong with you? Why are you damaged goods?
Psychologist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. And so that
Yeah.
was a very mature of you to do. And the fact is you weren't where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
So you were looking for ways to get
Yes,
there.
I was looking for
I mean,
help.
that's what a business person does, right?
Yep.
If you don't know what to do,
Yep. You go.
you find specialists to help you get there.
Yes. Yeah.
Simple.
And that was the thing. I knew I wanted to marry you. I knew you were the man of my dreams, and I didn't want to go in there fucked up. Truly.
That's a good point.
I mean, I wanted to do it right, and that's why I did that.
Got it. And this is really interesting. And I'm I study human behavior. I'm a psychology geek, and people would call me a human behavior expert.
Yes.
So here's what's interesting is that we all grow up in these families, right? And we are taught certain things about how things should be done.
Yes.
Things from toilet seats to lights to how you wash dishes. That's just the way you do it in your house.
Yeah.
And some people go through divorces. They have different kind of houses and are exposed to different things. Some people don't.
Yeah.
And so what happens is I find that, and this was true for me, when I got into a relationship and even when I married you, just because that you were raised a certain way, that this is the way it's supposed to be done, doesn't mean it's the right way.
Right.
And so that was a big thing for me, is like, who cares if that's the way you've been doing it for the last 20 years? Who cares? Does that make it right or wrong?
Yeah.
Is it okay to turn the page today and do it a different way?
Yes.
And so that is an interesting point, because we tend to, as human beings, we tend to want to protect our own way of life
Yes. Of what we know.
and what we know because it's right,
Yep.
according to us. And so there's a lot of ways to live. And so when you get in these relationships, I've heard people getting in fights before because they put the silverware down instead of up in the dishwasher, right? As a matter of fact, it was your friend that was telling me about that.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
That's funny.
So, I mean, anyway, so the point is that
Yeah.
there's no right and no wrong. There's just success and not success.
Yeah,
I mean, that is the key, is about finding how to, like, again, if you're merging two companies,
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to do some cultural assessment.
Yep.
You're going to put some things in place.
Yep.
And you're going to find out how
Yeah.
people can go on the same path.
Yeah.
Yet we go into these relationships and we hold on to our perceived rightness
Yeah.
of how things should be.
Yeah.
And it ends up hurting us.
Yes.
And that was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I mean, because you know how kind and loving I am now.
Yes, you are.
Thank you very
You're
much.
really kind and loving now.
So just because, again, just because you're doing it that way, it doesn't make it right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget that. I just was dating you, and or had I don't remember. Maybe not. No, I hadn't met you yet. But my producer at the shows had gotten married, and Doug had gotten married, and he was talking about, and they already been together for like 10 years or so. So it wasn't a new relationship, but he talked about, and I think it was in their marriage vow. I think it was like what he said when they were getting married, that he made sure, that he would tell his partner that, look, if you don't like the way I roll the toothpaste, please tell me. Like,
Right.
don't let that build up. Like, let me know, because I will change it. I don't care. If you don't like where I put my socks, let me know. Like, I'll change it.
Right.
Like, let me
Simple
know
stuff,
little
right?
stuff. Don't let it fester. But then also explain, like, what are you looking for? How can we work together?
Right.
And I think that some things really came naturally for you and I.
Yeah.
For you and me. And we had a lot of the same tastes, which was great. I mean, that helped tremendously.
Correct.
We had completely different hours. Because I was performing still. I was up late at night, right?
Yeah,
I was coming
yes.
home and sleeping, and I was going to bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and sleeping until 10 or 11. And you're up at 5 and 6 with the kids. And, it was a different
We
type
totally were on different schedules.
Yeah. And so, we had to work things out and figure things out. And even still, like, I like to sleep in and hit the snooze button. Like, I get up early, but I like to hit the snooze button like 3 or 4 or 5 times. And that bothers you,
Yes,
because
it
it wakes
does.
you up, right? And so it's like, okay, how do we come to a compromise so that I don't piss you off and you can get some sleep, and then but I can do what works for me,
Right.
So there's a lot of that going on,
Yeah.
and
that's
rather
part-
than festering and letting it get out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, one of the things as I worked for Tony Robbins for 6 years, selling his seminars. I did my own events, public events. Now I do corporate events. And
Yes.
what I share with people all the time in business is you've got to go to at least 2 professional development courses per year
Yeah.
for you to improve your skill set.
Yes.
Whether it's in leadership, communication, sales,
Yes.
anything, just to get yourself out of what you're going into a different environment so you can learn and grow, be around like-minded people.
Absolutely.
And so you'd agree as a business person that's something you should do, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's what Jennifer and that's what you and I do
Yes.
in life. So every year we go to some kind of a personal development type of getaway. The first year when we got married, or maybe it was before we got married, I took you to the forum, right?
Yes,
The Landmark Forum.
Yes.
Was it before
yes.
we got married, wasn't it?
I'm trying to remember when it was. I don't remember. It was in the
Anyway.
first couple of years.
Yeah.
So it was amazing.
Yeah,
No,
so-
we were married. Because I was a
were
redhead.
married.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So we went to the Landmark Forum just because I know the power of, anyway, so we
Yeah.
went to the Landmark Forum. It was great for us. And then Jennifer wanted to go to the next step, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So she continued, and I supported her.
Yep.
But it was the first step in us making progress together
Yeah,
and treating it like the business of love.
Yeah.
So, how do you expect your love to grow? How do you expect your relationship to grow? How do you expect your understanding to grow if you're not putting time into it?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't expect your business to grow,
Right.
right? So we went to, of course, Landmark, been to Tony Robbins, of course, and
Multiples.
Yes, and we've also just gone away,
Yeah.
and set goals.
Yes,
we're
yes,
going to
we
go
have.
away. We're going to get our life together.
Yep.
Things aren't working right now. Let's get our
Yeah.
shit together.
Yep.
Go away, set some goals, and it might only be a day trip somewhere.
Yep.
But we're making it happen, and I think
Definitely.
that's so valuable.
Very valuable. That and it doesn't have to be a big to do. We have check-ins. We have check-ins twice a year, every 6 months. We check in with each other if we haven't done it, because we'll check in organically
Yeah.
every so often, and it will be, are you happy? What can I be doing more for you? What do you need from me?
Yeah.
What would make you feel closer to me? What's important to you? And I'll never forget, we got very lucky because when we were dating, we were going to church together. And at the time, and
Sure.
they happened to be, it was in 2009, so it was fresh dating, and they were doing a series on, like, around Valentine's Day, so it was about love, and he happened to, the week that we went, talk about how someone feels loved. And yes, there's the 5 love languages and such, but that particular week, the pastor Judd was talking about, how do you feel loved? Because if you buy her flowers, that might not make her feel loved. What makes her feel loved? So you and I had this really wonderful, do you remember this? This
Yeah.
honest conversation on the way home from church that day of what's important to us.
Yes.
And we both got on the same page. We were both very similar,
Yeah.
which is great because our love languages are definitely physical touch and words of affirmation and time spent. I think those are pretty.
I like everything.
Yeah, I want it all. I think acts of service and gifts are the 2 least of
least,
us,
yeah.
but definitely, those are the top 3 and could quite honestly be equal. But time spent is definitely more you, like quality time. You have a big quality time thing more so than I do. And so I have to make sure that I spend quality time with you because, but that was by asking those things, that's how we find that out,
Yeah.
right? You like when we have coffee together. You like when we have quality time where there are no phones. It's just you and me, and it's important to know that. So I have to go, okay, I'm going to make sure that I give uninterrupted direct attention and presence to my husband, because that
Right.
makes him feel good. And what else makes him feel good? He doesn't care if I wash the windows. He cares if I make him dinner. Like, that's what he likes. Makes you feel loved,
Yes.
doesn't it?
Yes.
Right? Makes you feel loved. And so those are the things that definitely we worked through in the beginning, but then also recently have put back into play to strengthen our relationship and allow it to grow.
Yeah.
So those are things, those are big things, is to check in and see, how are you? What can I be doing more of? What makes you feel loved? What do
Yeah.
you need right now? Because we also change.
Yes.
So, what made you feel loved 12 years ago maybe isn't the same as today. You need something different or
Yeah.
more.
And that's important. I mean,
Yeah.
again, back to business. Your business changes and it grows, your market changes, so you've got to change with it. So being able to check in with your partner every 6 months on how he or she is doing and
Yes.
what can I do?
Yes.
I like the rating scale, because to me, then I can do something.
Yeah,
about
you
it.
do.
If you rate me on a scale of 0 to 10 on kindness and you give me a 5, I know what that means.
I
That
know.
I'm like, I was getting a C in school or something. Or
Yeah.
actually, that's a failure or whatever it is. It's halfway
Yeah.
where I should be. So I know
Yeah.
I can pick it up to a 7 or an 8.
Yeah.
So I just think that's so important, just
Yes.
to be able to recognize. And here's what I want people to know is, if you don't want, I shouldn't say if you don't, you've got to be in that place where you want to be the best you can be.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to have a good life. You can't expect to have a good life if you're not willing to put in the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had multiple people connect with me recently that are in slumps personally
Yeah.
or with their husband or wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk to them a little bit about it and give them some options, and they don't want to do it.
Really?
Yeah. And that's sad. And so the point is that your relationship is never going to be great unless you decide that you want it to be great.
Yeah.
And deciding
yeah.
it to be great means you got to improve in you.
Yeah, and quite honestly, if you want to go the God route, it's God first, and then your marriage, and then the kids, and then everything else. Like, and that's the order. I think I have that right. Please don't I'm almost positive. God first, then your partner, then really it's God first, then you, and then the partner, then your kids, and da da da. But
Yeah.
but really you look at that, and your business doesn't come before your relationship or God.
Right.
The activities don't come before your relationship or anything else. So it's like, you have to have that strong unit. If you're in a relationship or a marriage and something that means that much to you, that's got to be your focus.
Yeah.
Right. And going into my marriage with you, that's what I had, because I never really did that before.
Right.
So I never did. I knew that I always put myself first before my relationship, or before the guy I was with. I always put my career first, and because of that, the relationships did not succeed, right? And I knew that, and I was always somewhere else. They were always more needy. I didn't like it, and that's where I went. But I knew going in the relationship with you, I had to do it differently to make it work, and that's what I did. So I made you and our relationship my number one. And here we are.
As you should. And here we are.
Yeah, and here we are.
See?
So, but truly, because I could have said, "Hey, baby, I'm going to Dubai to do a show for 3 months. I'll see ya," and I would have done that in the past. And
If
that
you
would,
want the prize, you got to compromise.
yeah, but that wouldn't have flown with you.
That's right.
It wouldn't have been good for our relationship. It really wouldn't have.
No.
And I knew that, so I had to make some choices.
Yep.
You know.
And you did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just feel like it's important, and I want to just kind of move into this place real quick, Jennifer, because I meet a lot of women. I just meet people in general, but women, men won't change or women won't change. And I agree to that in some extent, is that you
To a point.
cannot go into a relationship thinking you're going to change somebody.
Yeah, no, don't marry potential.
No,
Don't
never
take
marry,
potential.
never marry potential. But I want the listeners to understand that when you met me, I was a totally different guy than I am today.
100,000%.
Right. Now,
Yes.
we've had some things happen along the way, my disease and whatnot. But I want you to share. Let's put this in perspective. I'm an ex-athlete. I've got a really strong belief system. I've got a very strong conviction on what's right and what's wrong. I'm very confident.
Cocky, yes.
Cocky would be your word for it. And so if that's not your style of person, or there's things that aren't working, that I think a normal woman would say, oh my God, that guy, no way.
Right, right.
So what happened?
So what happened?
Yeah. How'd you do it?
Well, I was always kind of after the guy. I was always after the guy in charge. Like that was the guy that I typically would date.
Yes.
A few times I went after I was with the spiritual, laid back, person, but that's how I am. And so I didn't want somebody like me. I needed somebody a little opposite so that could balance me.
Yeah.
And so I was always after the alpha male, almost always. That's what I like. I liked the competitiveness. I liked the drive. I liked the type A personality. I liked all of that stuff because it wasn't how I was. And I dug that. I needed that to ground me. I needed that to balance me.
Right.
And though with that comes a lot to go with it, the cockiness, the strong-mindedness, the sometimes stubbornness, some not always able to see the other person's side, things of that nature. So that came along as we went.
So, but that's an interesting point. If you're going to date somebody like that,
Yeah.
or you're going to marry somebody like that, you need to understand that it takes a little bit more
Yeah.
or a little different strategy to help them make some changes.
Yeah, and vice versa, right? Because I was very butterfly-ish. I was very flighty and kind of in the clouds. And as a performer, I had a whole different way that I worked, certainly different time frame that I worked in. And I would prefer to spend time with somebody first before I go and clean my closet. And so you're okay. If you were not okay with me having a messy closet, there'd be some problems because I'm not, organization is not my very first and foremost way that I am. I mean, although I keep our common areas clean and I do that out of respect for you. I mean, I like it that way too, but I have my messy area. And I just have to deal with that. And you're very kind with that. And you're accepting with that. And then over time, I got better because you were so supportive and understanding. Whether you really felt like that, I don't know. But you did that outwardly, so it helped me grow because you weren't judgmental on me. You realized that to have me as this loving, kind, really easygoing person, you had to know that I was an easygoing person all over the place. So, I wasn't that type A that wanted to clean everything. That wasn't who I am, so you were good with that. And that was important.
Well, I was good with it because I really didn't, I wasn't looking for a relationship anyway. So I was just kind of like, oh, whatever I did in the past didn't work anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm attempting to go, hey, I've got this new relationship with this new woman and wow. Yeah, that closet's messy.
Yeah.
I guess I won't be staying in there.
Yeah.
But again, when you look at the big scheme of things, you look back in the course of your life and do I care if she's got a messy closet or do I care if she treats me like a king? That's the really thing. Does she make me feel loved? Is she understanding? Is she kind? And she has a messy closet.
Yep.
Exactly so
right.
That's just business, man. Think about it. Think about if you are talking about making a decision about your business and there's 5 upsides and 1 downside, you're going to run with the 5 upsides and make changes or deal with the downside because that's what you do.
Yep.
It's about getting profitable. So you look at yourself and say, man, I've got this person over here that's got all these qualities that I really want to have. And so I need to make some adjustments. And I guess what I'm getting at is that, there's a myth out there that the guy, maybe like me, the alpha dog kind of guy, that they're not changing, but you did it. And I think you did it with kindness and you did it with love and support versus telling me I wanted to change. You made it okay for me to be myself and then want to be more.
Yeah.
I think that is the trick.
Yep. And then, I think really knowing yourself too, as I learned myself saying, okay, certain things just don't work for me. Like I need to really be okay with that and let you know what I needed. I needed you to be kind. I needed you to be present. I needed you to be tender. I needed certain things and you love me and our relationship enough to work on that.
Yep. So here's your assignment, listeners. Here's your assignment. Jennifer, you've said it all. You're the best.
You're funny.
That's what Howard Stern says every time.
Oh, he does?
Every time he says that and then he talks for like another hour. But Jennifer, you've said it all.
It's hilarious.
And so here's my action step for the listeners is call up your partner right now call them up right now, text them and say, let's get together tonight for a coffee, a drink, a wine or a dinner, and get together with your partner. And I want you to do is review your business of love and find out what he or she needs, how you're doing right now. Are you happy? What specifically could make you more happy? And find out what that is. And what I suggest you do is put together quarterly meetings where you get together for every quarter, talk about your life, your business, what's working, what's not working. If that's too much for you and you don't want to be too successful, just do it once every 6 months. And if you're not ready for that, do it once a year. But the more often you do it, the more successful your relationship will be. Just like as a leader, the more input and the more time you spend with the people in your organization, the more influence you will have. So I think that's the key, and that's the business of love, Jennifer.
I like it.
So we're out of here. It's been a great day, everybody. The business of love. Dan Lier and Jennifer Lier, we are on fire. Make it a great day.
See ya.